everybody, tonight I'm going to make myself a steak. In our house, I'm the steak lover and Mike loves fish. So tonight he's going to have himself a nice piece of halibut on the barbecue and I am going to make myself a nice ribeye. Here I have some ribeye we just got from the butcher shop down the street. And I'm going to show this to you really quickly. It is a very nice piece of marbled meat. See, there's a nice big chunk of fat there in the center, and it's a really nice piece of meat. So we're going to use a method first taught to us by a chef at one of our favorite French restaurants in town, but we've since seen it several times. And this is called the heavy salt method. So here I have a Montreal steak seasoning from Costco. And I'm just going to liberally salt this steak. And when I say liberally, I mean liberally. I should not be able to feel any meat through the salt covering whatsoever. I just flipped it over. This is going to be a really good steak. Keep sprinkling, checking the edges there. There we go. Pat the edges in the salt all over the pot. There we go. So now the cue to this is we're going to leave it. We're going to leave it here on the counter for about 20 minutes to a half an hour. Come back, rinse it off. Just literally put it under the tap. I'm not even going to show you that because I think you all know how to hold a piece of meat under the tap and rinse off the salt. And we'll show you how to barbecue it. All right, so this steak now has been soaking for close to an hour. I got distracted and had a couple other things to do. So here it is. You'll see that it's not much different. I'm going to just step away now and I am going to take the salt off of it. I'm just going to rinse it. All right, and so I've rinsed it off and you'll see there's nowhere near as much salt. I left a little bit on, but not much. But the key is that you have to pat it very, very dry. So I just took some paper towel and I'm just literally laying the paper towel on it and absorbing all the moisture. You know, wipe underneath there on the plate and flip it over and just pat this other side here. And now I'm going to welcome you to my barbecue and we are going to barbecue this steak up. And we'll also be barbecuing Mike's halibut at the same time. Okay, so I'm out at the barbecue now. I'm going to just open it up here. I've got it on high and I've seasoned it with a little bit of olive oil. I'm going to just turn it down now that it's burnt down the oil just a little bit because cooking low and slow is the best way for all meat. And we're going to start with our steak. So I've already got a fork here and I'm just going to take my steak off of the plate and sticking to the plate, it's so dry. There we go. And just put it on. There we go. And now I'm going to just check it a little bit. There we go. And just shut the lid. All right, so it's been on here now for about a minute or so, but I'm hoping you can hear the hiss here because I want to show you how the sound changes as we go. I'm just going to press. You'll see as I press, we've got a very distinctive hiss. And you're going to note here too that I have a piece of tin foil on the other side. That's for Mike's piece of halibut. You don't want to put halibut, or any fish really, directly on the grill because the grill is bigger than the flakes of fish. All right, so it's been about 3 minutes now. And steak really, since I like mine medium rare, doesn't take that long. And I'm already noticing that the sound is changing here. So I'm just going to grab my spatula, if I can remember where I left it. There it is. I'm going to press. And now that I'm pressing, Needs to be a little bit more juicy. So I'm going to just flip this steak now. And once again, check that I didn't fold it over. And give it another 2 to 3 minutes here. And we'll see it's actually quite aggressively sizzling. It's not crackling yet. It's still sizzling. And pressing it, there's less sound coming out of it. So I am going to flip a second time, but when I flip it this time, I'm going to also flip it clockwise a bit to get perfect grill marks on it. And now that the steak is half done, it's time to put Mike's halibut on. Now that's a nice big steak for me, and that's probably going to last me either just for dinner with no sides, or probably through till tomorrow, since Mike is actually preparing sides inside. All right. So that's my very lovely piece of fish for Mike. And I'm just going to throw it. Actually, no, I'm not going to throw it on yet. I'm going to salt it first. Just have a salt mill here, very, very lightly. Grind a little bit of salt over it on one side. And I'm just going to flip that salted side down onto my tin foil. And salt the top side now. Turn that burner up just a little bit. There we go. And shut the lid on both of those. All right, so let's take a look here. It's been about 2 or 3 minutes. Just looking at the fish here, and it's pretty cool where it's at. So I'm just going to slide that over a bit more. So it's a little bit more on the heat. There we go. And I'm going to take my steak and do the final flip now. So you'll notice I'm putting my fingers on the top. It's not very hot there. It's actually very cool because it's on the far side of the meat. The meat itself is insulating. I'm just going to take my steak with spatula underneath it, flip it, and I folded it. Now the top is very hot. So as a recovery mechanism, I have a fork here. I'm going to use that fork just to flatten it out a bit. There we go. And you'll see there's nice grill marks on that. Really lovely done. And I'm going to try and flip Mike's fish. Again, the meat itself is insulating it. I'm getting the spatula underneath it. I'm having difficulty, so I'm going to use my fork here. Spatula goes underneath. Fork helps pick it up. And there we go. We have a bit of a flare up there because some of the oil. But we're good. I'm turning that flame down all the way. And you'll note I'm leaving the lid up now because of that flare up there. I don't want this to char in that flame. You'll see how his fish now is coming apart a little bit. All right, now that the flare-up's gone down, we're going to shut the lid. check my steak here. Press down on it. Oh, tin foil got on top of the steak a bit. That's okay. Pressing down the steak, and I'd say my steak is done. Flipped it over one more time there. And I'm going to turn that burner off because the steak is ready. That's exactly the way I like my steak. I know that because of the sound of the hiss. Listen to that. Shh. When I flip it, it sizzles a bit. There's a little bit of juice. I like my meat with a lot of juiciness in it. And I'm just going to take my fish off here. Put it right in the heat for just a second. And just take it tin foil and all and put it on his plate for him. All right, barbecued fish and barbecued steak.